Skroa, Prost, cheers. Whatever it is in your country, it's the tech. I'm Wiley today. How you feeling?
Blue.
Blue?
Windows blue. No.
As in
Orange.
the color blue? Sort of like the drink purple?
No, it's definitely Windows blue. Ballmer's lost his damn mind.
Do we have any Windows news this week?
No, we didn't have any Windows news. It's just that Internet Explorer 10 is out now, I guess, and Internet Explorer 11 is supposed to be part of Windows blue and blah blah blah.
I hear people talking about Internet Explorer 10 similar to the way they would talk about the flu. Like, Internet Explorer 10's going around. Did you catch it yet? Oh, I hope not. I hope I don't catch it. Meta segment first, guys. Thanks for picking up Zweihander, as always. You guys are awesome. We're still way up in the list on Bandcamp. By the time we get the next album out, I think we can make it up to number 1 on Bandcamp. That would be pretty epic. We were like 13 on Bandcamp. I don't know if we've clum any higher.
Yeah, I'd say that
Clum in Kentucky is the past tense of climb.
I don't believe that.
Only in this state.
You need to stop making that shit up.
I make up whatever I want because I have a program and I can do things like that.
We're not all illiterate.
I wasn't going to mention this, but we've been getting some attention, especially with these AMD versus Intel videos. We released our last one, which were the Crysis 3 benchmarks, and in that one, people are still raging because the Intel didn't beat the AMD hard enough. It's like the Intel won by a little bit.
This is the i7, by the way.
Yeah, the i7, the 3770, won by a few frames a second, and the game was optimized for AMD. When I turned on Crysis, AMD. The game was optimized for AMD. When I turn on Crysis, it says AMD on the screen. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm used to seeing the Intel NVIDIA logo. It's just like all over the place. So people are angry about that. And, the guys from overclock.net got on Reddit and said some things about us. And part of their attack, and a lot of the attacks that people are coming up with, are about our delivery and our, my flamboyant, ridiculous, flailing my arms around type thing, that I'm unprofessional. That's fine. If that's all you guys have to, to complain about, that is wonderful. You're missing the point, and that's very shallow and stupid. But hey, that's awesome, and I'm really happy that websites like Overclock and AnonTech and that sort of thing are taking notice. Guys, we're here. If you guys want to have a beer at PAX East, let's do it if you guys are there. If not, tell me where you'll be, and we'll have a beer. I can be irreverent, and you can wear your button-ups and khakis. Won't that be wonderful? I'm actually think it's pretty cool that people are yelling and screaming about our stuff. I
like the irrational exuberance.
I love it. Let's move on. I wasn't going to get into the specifics, but I've received so many emails, people saying, "Hey, what do you think of what these guys said about you? What do you think about what these guys said about you?"
We don't care.
No, I really don't give a flying heck.
It's like, hey, look, we got an interesting result. Can somebody replicate this? Because we were just flailing about wildly.
Could somebody with a button-up shirt please redo these tests?
We were just mashing the keyboard with our palm.
I think I was using my butt at one point up here, like, oh yeah, just benchmark that, yeah.
I've got my special keyboarding wand that I just used to hit the keyboard.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so the Nexus 7 has won Best Tablet at the Global Mobile Awards. Why do they have to name it the Global Mobile Awards #1? But anyway, congratulations to ASUS with the Nexus 7. It's ASUS, not Asus, like I've been saying, by the way.
But we know the whole history of, Pegatron and all that. So, I mean, and then Pegasus, and then, it's Pegatron, and, ASUS, and Asus, like Pegasus, and never mind.
I saw a Peg ASUS the other day. Whatever. So anyway, congratulations to the Nexus 7 for being a cool tablet and winning that award. Printable cars. Now, this is kind of interesting because we've got, 3D printers going crazy all over the place. Well, a company here called Red Eye has printed a car, and it's as strong as steel, made out of plastic, and I think it's going to revolutionize the car market because picture it this way. Right now, we've got a revolution going on with beer because I like beer, so I use that as, a reference. Microbrews are going crazy because now people have access to the tools and equipment, and the knowledge is out there, and you can make your own and sell it in small batches. What if we have microbrew cars? Small batch cars to everybody. You want a certain type of car, you can make that car yourself. If you have a 3D printer, you can make very specialized automobiles and sell them.
Well, the Department of Transportation would never allow this. This is totally never going to happen. But they are making a plastic material that has a special pattern in it that's almost as strong as steel, they claim. And that's really what I found most interesting about this, is that they're claiming that their plastic car has the characteristics of steel because of the way that it's printed in 3D and because of the lattice structure, the matrix structure, or whatever they're building. So that's really interesting.
But you don't think that the Transportation Administration is going to allow this?
No, it'll be 50 years. I mean, the technology might be there in 5 years, but the bureaucracy will take 50 years to catch up.
I mean,
look at it this way. Audi has had LED headlights in Europe for years, and the Department of Transportation here can't make up their mind whether or not LED headlights are okay.
We just got our thumbnail. Okay, the tiny ARM chip. Have you seen this thing? It's like the size of that. That's a chiclet keyboard right there. It's very tiny. And the chip maker is Freescale Semiconductor, and they've created the world's smallest ARM-powered chip. So it's 2 millimeters. Now this is designed to go into things that we can ingest, so we can have our, an ARM computer inside us. Because the first thing that I thought when I saw ARM computers is like, wow, that's pretty small. Maybe one day I'll be able to have one inside me. Let that sink in.
I'm pretty sure that this is just for medical applications, and let's just not even think about anything else.
I'm moving right along, and the comments are going to go wild. Have you seen the hit series House of Cards?
I have not watched it, but every time I launch Netflix, it's telling me how awesome it is.
I just purchased Netflix so I could take a look and see what this is. I didn't know that Netflix was only $7.99 a month for all that streaming. How did they do it? So I opened up a Netflix account and then watched 13 episodes of this damn show like back to back because it's freaking awesome.
Well, it's so much cheaper now because you can't do the DVDs anymore. That costs extra.
Yeah, it's like an extra $7 whatever. But who cares? Like, really? I don't even have there's one over there, but it's not even hooked in. I put a DVD drive in that thing and I never actually plugged up the SATA cable.
Well, I'm given to understand that the DVD situation solves the problem of really old guard media companies that don't want to share their things on the internet. And that's how you get it, because they don't otherwise want to stream because they're dinosaurs.
Mostly, when someone makes a show, it's a gamble. Well, with this show, Netflix is claiming that it was less of a gamble. And the reason is because they were collecting so much data from all of their users. And they discovered that users really liked the House of Cards, the British TV show. They found out that they really liked Kevin Spacey, and they really liked David Fincher. So they put them all together, and they've got a hit. They knew they were going to have a hit before it even came out based upon all the data that they've been collecting. So that's pretty interesting.
I don't know that that's necessarily a winning formula because, people like chocolate and people like oranges and people like raspberries. But combining all those together, not necessarily a winner.
Chocolate orange, that might work, actually. Maybe you should say chocolate pickles and raspberries.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess people do like pickles too.
God, I love a good pickle, man.
Come to think of it, I love chocolate oranges, so I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
Anyway, moving along. I'm apt to agree with you on that. You can't just take 3 things that are good and throw them in a pot and stir them up. But, I think that there were a few more things going on there than just their big data that they've been collecting. Bitcoin is at $33.
That's absurd.
That is absolutely absurd. I had a bunch of Bitcoins when they were $1, and I got rid of them when they were $7. And I'm going to shoot myself when the show is over.
Well, recently, the complexity, the amount of work you have to do to mine a Bitcoin on average recently doubled because of the number of Bitcoins in circulation, which is part of the plan.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that are doing GPU mining and things like that now have to do twice as much effort.
Well, you can go out and buy a Bitcoin. I mean, it's just
True,
a transfer
true.
rate. I was talking to one of my friends up in New York who does some stock trading and whatnot, and I mentioned Bitcoins, and they were like, what? And I showed them Bitcoins, and they were like, I just don't know about that. I'm going to give them a call and see how they feel about this now, because I told them about it when it was about $4. So
yeah, I kind of wish that I'd bought more Bitcoins when they were $5.
In Japan, they now have self-driving trucks, and they're designed to drive as a fleet. And when they do that, they save energy. So a few years ago, I guess in 2010, NIDA was working on this idea where if they have all their drivers drive about 50 feet apart, one behind the other, they'll end up saving 15% in gas. They need 4 of them in a fleet, so they drive 1, 2, 3, 4 trucks 50 feet apart. They save money in gas. And now they have several trucks running on the roads, completely automated. And no humans needed anymore. So they've got these driverless vehicles going on. So that's pretty interesting. I really do think driverless vehicles are the future.
Well, Google's invented a billion-dollar industry.
Yep, and there's going to be a lot of people jumping into that. So take a look at those videos if you like. You can see those trucks drive themselves because that's so freaking exciting. Oh my God.
I think it's Volvo's got the automatic braking demo now, too. If the driver's completely asleep at the helm, the truck will brake itself.
I got a slogan for that. The truck will break itself, so you don't break yourself. Call them right now. So 100,000 Americans have signed the petition on the whitehouse.gov to make unlocking our cell phones legal. I cannot believe we have to sign a petition for some nonsense like this because it's illegal. It still hurts my brain.
Now, it was previously legal. Well, okay, it was more absurd than that. It was legal to unlock your cell phone, but it was not legal to unlock your tablet. And then the exception in the law that allowed you to unlock your phone, expired. And so now it's illegal to unlock both phones and tablets. And the reasoning was that because manufacturers have more unlocked phones than they used to. So it's like, well, you still don't own your tablet. You still don't own your phone. It's like, I'm sorry, no, that's not how that works.
So anyway, we got 100,000 signatures on that. And if you remember, the reason that we now have to get 100,000 instead of 25,000 signatures is because, remember the petition on whitehouse.gov about the Death Star?
Yeah.
And Obama had to come out publicly and, say why the U.S. government is not going to build a Death Star. He had to address the petition. So
Well, there are a fair number of petitions that got 25,000 signatures that they've also just ignored.
Yeah.
And so far, this has been one of them too, even though they got 100,000.
6 strikes. That's starting like nowish, almost nowish.
That started this week.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get my first warning. If you guys are with Comcast, they have some particularly nasty technology that they're employing. In fact, it's pretty much the same as a virus. It's a web hijacker. So what's going to happen first is you'll get, your warning. It'll pop up, and here on Ars Technica they have some, I guess, examples of what it's going to look like. Comcast, there's alert number 1, et cetera, et cetera. But the crazy thing about this is, after you've received a few alerts, Comcast will actually hijack, and they can potentially completely stop you from going onto the internet.
Now, here's a really cool thing. Let's suppose somebody has taken over your wireless at your house, and they're doing things they shouldn't do on your wireless. Guess who's going to get the alert? The jackass is going to get the alerts and click, I don't care, it's not my wireless.
Well, yeah, they're going to pop up on his screen, of course, but it's going to be your problem.
Yeah, it's going to be your problem, but he's going to click through the alerts, and then when you talk to them on the phone, and it's like, what in the hell are you talking about? They're going to be like, well, we sent you an alert, and you clicked on it.
Well, they also send an alert to the email address that's attached to your Comcast account, which who the hell uses that crap?
Yeah, no one uses that as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we've done the research.
Do you know why no one uses that? Because then you can't switch ISPs. Everybody learned that lesson in 1997.
Yeah, whenever one of my friends was like, Comcast.com email address, I was like, are you an idiot? Or earthlink.net? Yeah, send it to me.
Earthlink.
Bob, earthlink.net. Like, are you joking me, dude?
Well, there's AOL makes all of its money from dial-up. No, it's people that want to keep their AOL email addresses.
Yeah, and God forbid I see a Time Warner email address. I lose. That person is pretty much dead to me. Whenever someone sends me an email address from @timewarner.com, I'm like, oh, you're dead to me. So, of course, there's a petition for this. You guys can go sign that if you feel like being an activist. Yes, being an activist, you can go sign that petition. Last week we reported that Verizon said that there was no need for gigabit Ethernet because their customers didn't want it. And now Time Warner has come out and said, our customers don't care about gigabit Ethernet either. Or gigabit internet, I'm sorry. Ethernet, what am I talking about?
Well, same difference as long as the Ethernet goes to the internet.
Yeah, but so apparently Time Warner's customers really hate fast internet. And a spokesperson from Time Warner said, we're in the business of delivering what consumers want. Hey, that's great.
I'm pretty sure that if consumers could get gigabit internet for $100 a month, they would want it.
They probably sent the same survey team out to go door to door and go, hey, do you guys want to spend $1,000 a month on internet? No. And then the guys back at the office are like, good, yes. Yes, we have the data we need. Another thing that's interesting about Time Warner is if you're using YouTube on Time Warner or Twitch or a lot of different streaming services, Time Warner has a caching server, and apparently that caching server is extraordinarily slow, so when you go to YouTube, it's going to be really slow.
We've got the fix.
We do have the fix right here, and some guys on Reddit did point this out, so this is pretty cool. We've experienced it firsthand, and it makes YouTube faster, so what you need to do if you're on Windows is open up a command prompt, put in a few commands that will add, block a few servers, or block a few IP addresses, or a few IP ranges, I should say, and that'll block the Time Warner server so that when you go to YouTube, you go to the real YouTube on Google servers and not on Time Warner servers.
Do you have a Time Warner connection, and does your connection stutter? When you go to do a video, does it buffer for a little bit and then hang? Do you play, pause? If one of these symptoms fits you, here's the remedy.
There's remedies for Linux as well, and you can also do it in the Windows GUI if you're a GUI person. I don't like to get GUI, though. I prefer doing it in the command prompt, but all of the instructions are clearly laid out, and they're on techsyndicate.com, so go there, or I will come to your house and shave your cat. And
We will not be
bananas.
responsible if you screw it up.
Yeah, if you're...
Even if you don't screw it up, we're still not responsible.
No, we're not responsible for anything.
We are irresponsible.
I just sit here and flail all day. That's all I do. Anyway, speaking of AT&T, we weren't even talking about AT&T. Was I supposed to be talking about AT&T?
Speaking of multinational ISPs that would just assume step on your face is talk to you.
Well, we really hate ISPs, don't we?
We really do.
We need a good ISP
That'll give us proper bandwidth
and not invade our privacy.
and not invade our privacy. And
I
now
can't even imagine a world in which ISPs like that existed.
And now the camera battery is low.
Oh, no. So AT&T wants to take over... I've closed that article.
AT&T wants to kill your landline. They're saying that nobody really has a home telephone anymore. Nobody wants a landline. And because of that, they should be exempted from all these rules that govern telecom and who has what service and blah, blah, blah. Really, it's because they're moving to all IP services. And there's a loophole in the law that IP services are exempted from, having to be available to all the citizens and blah, blah, blah.
So let me get this straight. They're going to move from a service that's always on and always works, has multiple backups, to a service that is made out of paper cranes and aluminum foil.
Yes, that is exactly what AT&T is doing. And they have already been doing it with Uverse, as many of you that have Uverse have experienced over the last few months with the rolling outages.
We got another outage this weekend. Thousands of people. No services. And that means TV, internet, and phone. Gone. Dead. You can't do anything about it. The nice thing about phones, like you said earlier, before our thing died,
Yeah.
is that phones work. If there's a hurricane, they usually work.
Yeah, the phones have their own independent power source. They have, it's an incredibly robust nationwide infrastructure. And, in January, it made national news when Randy spilled a Snapple on a router in Atlanta, and it took out the entire eastern seabord
That's all it was.
Uverse
It was
internet.
like a little router.
Yeah, their DHCP server just died.
It was they were using an RTN16 in a back closet. The thing overheated with all the connections. I was like, guys, it's a nice router, but it's a consumer router. What are you doing? Not really, no.
Yeah, it took them 4 days to fix that.
Yeah, they had to figure out.
Uverse was spotty for 4 days.
That's because they refused to buy a new router. They just decided to blow dry the Snapple off of the damn PCB.
That is the level of centralization that they're doing, and that is how fragile they have made the network. And the regulators are asleep at the helm.
We need an alternative. We should start an ISP, but God, the overhead. Oh, wait, but there's Google Fiber.
Well, if we started an ISP and we were good at it, they would just sue us. It's like, oh, you're competing unfairly somehow.
If we want to work on their level, we're going to have to hire hitmen and wear black suits around strange areas at weird times of night.
Yeah, when cities have said, wow, this is really terrible, we're going to do our own thing, they have been sued into oblivion by Comcast.
They sue the municipality.
Yeah, it's just, come on now, guys, come on. When a city is more organized than a business, there is something wrong.
The Supreme Court has said that there is no way to challenge warrantless wiretapping. This is because the ACLU was going crazy about all the warrantless wiretapping, and the Supreme Court has essentially said that
You can't prove you're harmed.
yeah, and they're not going to provide any help at all. They're just the vote was close; it was 5-4, but yeah, it's complete immunity.
This is not inconsistent with other stuff we've covered, because there have been other cases that we were surprised about that were not covered in mainstream media, like the guy that sued Chase Bank or something. I can't remember what bank it was, but they sold his financial records and his information to some company.
I think it was J.P. Morgan Chase, but I can't be totally sure.
And so they sold his info, and he got wind of it, and he sued them because it was a breach of covenant that he signed with them that said that his data was absolutely confidential.
Yeah, the courts were like, so prove your harm.
And he couldn't prove harm, so they were found guilty, but there were no damages. That's carte blanche to just do whatever you want with privacy. Privacy's dead.
Yeah, the courts officially said, guys, you guys are bad. Keep doing it, though. Whatever. Bradley Manning. Let's talk about Bradley Manning for a minute. If you do not know who Bradley Manning is, he's the guy who leaked the infamous helicopter footage where the guys, was it Marines or something that were flying around in helicopters just shooting people. They took out a lot of civilians.
It was the collateral murder video.
Yeah, that was leaked to WikiLeaks. Now, Bradley Manning, he's pleaded guilty to 10 charges, and there's 12 charges that he has pleaded not guilty to, and those charges include things like, working together with Al-Qaeda.
Honestly.
So he's pleaded not guilty to those. But here's the deal, guys. Bradley Manning...
What he pled guilty to could put him in jail for 10 years. He's already been in jail without trial for 3. And what he pled not guilty to could put him away for life.
Here's the crazy thing about this. He gave these stories to the New York Times and to the Washington Post, and they ignored him completely. So before going to WikiLeaks with this, he went to major United States-based news sources, journalistic news sources, and they ignored him. I don't know what that says.
With the collateral murder video.
I don't know what that says about the journalistic integrity of our country. It also kind of scares me that the government has that much control over big media, that they're able to tell them what they can and cannot show and what they, need to ignore.
You could make the argument that right now he's saying the best possible thing that he could say for the position that he's in, which is, it was on my conscience that I had to act on this. It was on my conscience that I had to get this information out there however I could because I was being ignored. And even if that's not true, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt because these are really atrocious things here.
That our tax dollars are paying for.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of Chinese money that we borrowed as well.
Well, someday we'll have to pay that back.
You mean someday we'll be living in China too?
Someday our children or our children's children will be paying that back. We have, mortgaged the future or whatever.
Just learn Mandarin. Now, start learning Mandarin.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to be speaking it. So Kim.com has decided to piss off the powers that be again by expanding Mega to encrypted email.
Yeah, he's going to just...
They're going to raid your house again, dude. That's exactly what's going to happen. I know you got your heart's in the right place and everything's awesome.
Somewhere the Penguin is calling a Wetworks team to take you out.
Send in the SEALs this time. Nuke his property. What did he do wrong? We don't like him. He ruffles our feathers.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, he's... I think it's awesome, though. I do think it's awesome that we have encrypted email services. We need more encrypted email services out there. Gmail, Google, if you guys are awesome, you will make your Gmail service encrypted, but you probably will not do that.
Well, they use SSL by default now, but I don't think the messages themselves are encrypted. I think what Mega is doing is browser-side encryption using HTML5. So they don't even really need SSL. They can do all the encryption in the browser like they're doing with files. And that's really nice because it avoids the crunch of having to have all those IP addresses for SSL.
Yeah, it's a new technology, and it could be very scary to the powers that be, so go ahead, Kim.com. Yeah, they're going to be so upset about that. So would you like 100 gigabits per second for internet?
That sounds like we're going to need a physics breakthrough for that.
Well, guess what? The guys at IBM have a physics breakthrough, and they're using an analog to digital converter. What they're doing is taking an analog signal and...
but it's a new type of analog to digital.
Yeah, and with it, they're able to get internet speeds of 100 gigabytes. That would be really freaking fast, 100 gigabits per second. So that's pretty amazing. You guys can read that article if you like. Who knows what's going to happen with this, but IBM always does really cool things. We've been talking about smartphones a lot today, and Sergey Brin, one of the top guys at Google, said that smartphones are emasculating.
Now, what did he mean by that? Well, you have to read the article for the context, but we think that what he means by that is that the phone, like constantly looking at your phone, playing with your phone, takes you out of the experience.
I thought it meant that if you're using your phone, you can't reproduce anymore. I'm sorry, guys, I can't.
I'm playing with my phone, I'm suddenly impotent.
Yeah, but seriously, how many times have you guys gone out to hang out with your friends and just everyone sits around doing this all the time? Huh? So that was my experience in New York. I even thought of creating a meetup group where we just go and you hang out, and at the door you check your cell phone. So that forces you to actually interface and interact with human beings instead of doing this, because that really got on my nerves. Every time I would go hang out, it would just...
Hey, here's an experiment for you guys. Do the dinner version of that. Everybody put your phone on the table, one on top of another, at the beginning of a meal. First person to touch their phone has to pay for it.
You know, there's going to be some people that are really cheap, because I'm sure there's a lot of cheap bastards out there, that it's just they're going to sit there until the place closes.
Well, I think at the end of the meal, if no one has touched the phone, then it's, Dutch.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. So Sergey says that smartphones are emasculating, and he's pushing Google Glass now as like the solution, because now you can do all your stuff while staring someone in the face. But are we going to go from this to a bunch of people sitting like this, staring at each other going...
Bring up the screenshot from The Game, the Star Trek The Next Generation episode. That's how it's going to be.
I love that episode. Don't they all get kind of frisky in that episode?
No, that's the...
Which episode was that?
That's
something to their minds. It wasn't the game
that one was The Naked Now. That was the one where even Data got some action.
That was a little risque. Androids getting all turned on.
It's kind of weird.
Anyway, so he thinks the Google Glass is the solution. I'm not sure. I'll have to try on a pair of glass, but if I have AT&T, I certainly won't be trying on any glass because AT&T wants you to pay $14.99 for every 250 megabytes of Google Glass usage.
That's I'm sorry, did you say megabytes?
Megabytes, yes. 250 megabytes, $14.99 for each 250 megabytes of Google Glass usage. You'll go through that in like 30 minutes.
Is this 1984?
It is.
Oh, it is 1984.
Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, last time I checked my clock,
I haven't paid that much for bytes. I mean, good Lord.
So, way to go, AT&T. You guys are idiots. That's like the end of that thing. But I do like some legislation that's going on the Hill right now. We have a couple guys. It's bipartisan, which makes it look really good when you look at it. Bipartisan stuff always looks so good, and people love the term bipartisan, so the public is going to get behind it blindly. So let's just do that. We're going to get behind this blindly. The two representatives are Peter DeFazio, he's a Democrat, and Jason Chaffetz, he's a Republican from Utah. And what they're trying to do here is stop all the patent trolls, because the patent trolls come in and they really bother people with patents. That was really stupid to say out loud, but yes. So what they're saying is with this bill, the patent trolls will have to pay for all of the legal fees if they lose. Because right now it's like they just go in there and they can wreak all kinds of havoc and make whatever claims they want. And when they leave, the other company is forced to pay all the legal fees.
This is definitely a switch to the loser pays, which, you know, a lot of other countries have a loser pays system already, and this is loser pays for patent systems, so that could be pretty good. There is a downside, and that is, you know, independent inventors and things like that may have more of a struggle depending on how the law ends up being written and how it ends up being implemented, because big business and big lobbyists are writing this, and so I have a feeling small entrepreneurs are going to indirectly get screwed here.
Yeah, you guys always have to look at it that way, because there's a lot of big companies out there with tons of patents, and they're getting harassed by these little companies, so they're the ones putting the money into the pockets of these representatives. So
if you guys want to get a little insight into just, you know, what sort of things are going on with patent trolls in small business these days, check out stopprojectpaperless.org. It's a company that was contacting small businesses and demanding $1,000 per employee if they had a system that used that would allow them to scan an email system from their copier into their email system.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So anyway, I mean, I think it will also help the small people just by default, but not as much as it helps the big guys, because they're the ones putting money in the pockets of the representatives. And that's really the way the world works. Speaking of legal stuff, remember the judge in the Samsung case who told Apple to apologize to Samsung?
And then chided Apple for not apologizing correctly?
Yep, that judge, that was a lot of fun to watch. Well, the Honorable Lisa R. Barton is now in the pocket, or now working on a contractual basis, working for Samsung. She's being a patent, a patent consultant.
She's been retained as a patent expert consultant.
I don't know how I feel about that, but kind of weird, because she's a judge.
Well, I don't think you should hire away judges that, you know, have sense, because then there'll be less judges, and odds are you're going to get one that doesn't have any sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about science. Something good that's happening in the world right now. We mentioned this before, but now there is a medication that will, it's pretty much the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind medication. It can erase painful memories. A medication can do this.
Well, there are deep-seated philosophical issues with this.
There's some similar technologies out there. But you bring up a thought, and when you think about that thought, you can rewrite that protein, because it's all protein in your brain. So in some studies, I was listening to NPR the other day, there's been some studies, and they were actually able to insert things into people's brains. They bring up the thought, they hit them with like a pulse or perhaps this drug or something like that, and then they reprogram that protein. So they're like, hey, at the scene of this accident, there was a Camaro. And the person's like, no, there was not a Camaro. And they zap them, and they tell them there was a Camaro. And the protein rewrites and inserts a Camaro into that. And sure enough, when they recall it later, it is 100% genuine. It can pass a lie detect, and they think that there was a Camaro at the scene of the accident.
I've seen Darren Brown do that, but usually with just cheap alcohol.
Oh, this is going to work a lot better than that. God, that's another movie script idea. Reprogramming people to say what you want them to say genuinely. It'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of your brain, jogging helps to build gray matter. And there's some studies that came out from this. They've studied with rats, of course. But running, I guess it just helps to build the gray matter. It's freaking science, guys. So if you exercise and you keep yourself active, your body will build more gray matter and you will have a better memory. I have not been jogging lately, as you can tell. Now I just had this beer. It's really strong. Even if it doesn't work, go for a jog. It's fun. It's. I don't care. I don't care what you do with yourself. Speaking of rat brains, this is pretty cool. Guys at Duke University have figured out a way for rats to communicate brain to brain. This is really interesting. You guys should check out this article. But essentially, they've hooked up, one rat brain to another rat brain, and they've had to train these rats because, for it's like 45 days it takes for this to work. They do tests on rats, and they reward rats based on like pushing a button. So they're like, an LED light will come on for one rat, and the rat will have to push the button where the LED light is. But the other rat will not get the LED light, but will still press the same button. But it takes a while for the rat to realize, wait, this information is coming into my mind. I need to press this button to get a treat. So it's pretty interesting. What this is doing is it's paving the road for brain-to-brain communication, possibly with humans. Telekinesis, maybe? That'd be great. Can they figure that out already? I want to levitate things right now. I don't want to reach all the way there to pick up my beer.
How long until you have the telepathy Google Glass peripheral?
Google Glass, give me my coffee.
No, it's going to be Google Glass. What is Logan experiencing?
Oh, God. I don't want that to happen.
And then telekinesis will come later.
You know what? Just to be a troll, I will roll around in the mud all day long, so that every time you guys tap into my brain, you'd be like, "Oh, what the hell's going on? Get out of there! Get out of there!" That'll learn you.
That'll be a good application of cloning technology. Clone yourself, and then have your clone doing all sorts of really insane things, and then people can sort of glass into that one.
Remember the genius kid who came up with an accurate sensor that would, I guess, detect cancer?
Yes.
Well, that kid and a bunch of other genius kids are working on a tricorder that can detect several different diseases. That's pretty cool. I will say that this technology is not new. This is something my father uses. It's called the Zyto. You put your hand on it, it sends a frequency into your hand, and it tells the computer how you're going to respond to several different stimuli. So it's pretty interesting, and he can use it to diagnose various diseases and also prescribe cures.
And hilarious side note, Gene Roddenberry made sure that terms like tricorder are available for use for people actually building a tricorder.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you're building a tricorder and it actually tricords, you can call it a tricorder, and Paramount can't do a damn thing. We're
going really long here, so 4D printing, you guys can just watch the video on this, but they're essentially devices that create themselves, or, normally you need a printer. Well, they figured out how to basically lay down a bunch of plastic and then watch it build itself into something. It's creepy to watch, but you guys can watch it and read the article, but we're going long, so I'm going to keep moving. Gaming, not a lot to talk about gaming, but I'm sure there will be soon because we're going to go to PAX East and deliver the news. But Blizzard has something new that they're going to be showing at PAX East, and everyone's rumoring and speculating that it might be Dota. But you know what's crazy about Blizzard? Since 1998, they have not released a game that was not in the Warcraft, StarCraft, or Diablo franchise.
Wow.
That's it. 1998. It's been that long, and they've been milking these 3 franchises. So now they're supposed to be working on something that is similar to Dota, because Valve won the rights to use the term Dota in their own game, so it can't be Dota anymore. Before it was just Blizzard Dota, but that's probably what it's going to be. But that's kind of based on Warcraft. So let's see. I'm kind of curious to see how far outside of the Warcraft universe that they've gone with this. Is it going to be like League of Legends? I mean,
well, they certainly got the money to do really interesting things. Let's see if they've got the imagination.
Yeah, it looks like they are just milking whatever makes them money, which is fine. They can do that. They're allowed to. They're a big business. They can make money all they want. And I guess until those franchises run dry, they may as well milk them. But
well, if you're in a business that's that successful, you ought to put 20 to 30% of your bottom line toward doing really amazing things with the dream team of nerds.
Yeah, enabling them to create whatever they want.
I think that's a lot of Valve's success, is Gabe's we've got some really good people here. Let's let them do their thing.
Anyway, that's all. Thank you guys for watching. You should subscribe, or else there will be no bacon. And if you don't like bacon, there will be no bananas. Anything else to add before we end?
Upcoming videos?
God, there's a lot of upcoming videos. I got to edit a lot of videos. Shot another one yesterday. I just don't have time to edit them all.
We have miles of footage.
Yeah. Firing the editor was the worst thing I've ever done. Anybody want to come edit for us? $2 an hour plus cheese. So that's all we got. This episode was terrible, so
It was even worse than last week.
I was trying this time. I was really trying to make this one terrible. I even had a really strong beer to make sure that it was terrible, and to make sure that it continually got worse all the way until the end, which this is right now. I'll see you next time.